far too much cinema wrestling, far too much amateur theater. When people don't understand that you're watching a TV product and they're working for cameras, they're not working for the live audience. And a lot of people relied way too heavily on cinema, call it that, when they should be relying on the fundamentals of pro wrestling and using body language and emotion and reaction to get their message across. A lot of people just rely on dialogue and telling people instead of showing. I always say, show, don't tell. Don't spoon feed people what you want them to see.
Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by perhaps one of the most cerebral minds in all of Australian wrestling and perhaps even the world. This man is a competitor in the inaugural WWE Cruiserweight Classic, a 3-time tag team champion, 4-time heavyweight champion, and the brains behind World Beater Wrestling. Welcome to Pario magazine, the World Beater himself, Damian Slater.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure to have you here. We're here today to chat about your mindset when it comes to breaking down and coaching pro wrestling. But before we dive into that, do you want to give our audience a little insight into who Damian is away from the ring and the coaching arena?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one, isn't it? That's it's very existential. Man, I'm just a dude doing his thing. Like, I've always been obsessed with pro wrestling from a very young age. And obviously that's led to where we are now with 22, 23 years in the game at the moment. So, outside of that, I have a family that I look after. I'm a pretty low key guy, man. Like, I love my mixed martial arts. I practice a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So that's where I get my competitive, I guess I scratch that itch in terms of competition and real life comp. A bit of a dichotomy to pro wrestling, I guess. But yeah, man, outside of that, pretty chill dude. Just like doing very low key things when I'm not in the ring.
That's fair enough. And like I said in the intro, you're the brains behind World Beater Wrestling, an online coaching program primarily for wrestlers, but I would say it's even for fans like myself, because like your social clips have really changed my mindset on watching wrestling and social media presence and promotion as well. What was the motivating factor behind launching World Beater Wrestling?
It's been an ongoing process, like ever evolving. I guess initially 2018 is when I launched my YouTube channel. And look, there's a lot of motivations for it. There were selfish motivations in that I just wanted to get my name out there more as a coach and as a wrestler. But there was also, I started noticing just there were so many cool lessons that we were getting. And obviously, as you would know, the Aussie scene is incredible. And it's been incredible for such a long time. Such good wrestlers, such good training methods and standards. I started to think, how come more people don't know about this? And it was just the fact that wrestling is so closed off. Like, traditionally, everything was kept behind closed doors. Everything was all about keeping the secrecy behind pro wrestling. And, you know, that has changed. That's definitely changed. It changed a long time ago. But many of us were still kind of stuck in that bubble of, you know, what we do is what we do and no one else needs to know about it. And if you want to be part of our club, then you've got to like earn your way in. And look, there's merit to that as well, but I just figured there were a lot of missed opportunities where people weren't getting the right lessons purely because they lived in a place that didn't have it. And look, it's easy to say, just move to a city that has good pro wrestling, but that's not always easy and life gets in the way. So I figured if I could use the internet to spread those lessons a little bit, maybe some people here and there might enjoy that. And it took off pretty quickly through YouTube. But I always saw YouTube as a bit of a limited platform, I guess, in a way. And I then moved to, I mean, I put things on everywhere, but I decided to put more into Instagram and those short form type videos that you probably would have seen, but also Patreon. So worldbeaterwrestling.com is where my Patreon is, and it's where I can actually really focus and really kind of knuckle down on the fine detail rather than just putting out small snippets. So we do a lot of deep dives through there. I've got I've got quite a large group of members who I work with closely, some closer than others, and that's my way of mentoring people around the world, just making that process a lot easier.
Have you sort of been surprised that it has had an impact on people outside of wrestling as well, like myself with the sort of social promotion? Was that something that just came as a side effect?
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't the intention at all. I mean, to be honest, like when I started it, all I thought was maybe I'll get some old friends in Adelaide or something who might like join up and want to keep learning from me because I can't train them anymore. Uh, and to be honest, it's actually been less the Australians and more the overseas contingent. Like I would say, most of my members and the people I work with are from other countries, and
Mhm.
all over. Not one specific region. There's Europe, South America, North America, Asia, all over Australasia. So yeah, a lot of it was not intended and not expected. It's kind of just come, and I've kind of just adapted to it. And yeah, that was definitely a part of it. I've had a lot of people who say, "Hey, I'm not even a wrestler, but I do this, and I liked your tip. I related that to my industry, and that was really cool." So as they always say, pro wrestling is life, right? So things that happen in pro
Yep.
wrestling are things that happen in the world around us. So it's all relative.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like wrestling is supposed to be a real combat sport, so it should relate back and be relatable to all different places.
Definitely, it's drama, it's narrative, it's entertainment. Absolutely.
And have you always viewed wrestling through this holistic lens of making sure that the physical actions match the psychology? And why do you think it's so important that those two are creatively working in unison?
Yeah, somewhat. I was, as anyone who kind of gets into the industry generally is, you're drawn to the superficial aspects. You're drawn to the moves and the flash and the all the fun stuff on the surface level. And that it was the same for me when I first got into wrestling back in 2002. At that point, I just kind of started to get into watching TNA. They just launched, and I was watching the X Division, and I was like, man, that's going to be me. I want to do all that
Mhm.
stuff that Loki and AJ Styles and Jerry Lynn are doing, and that's where I started. But as soon as I started training, you start to see that extra level. Once the fundamentals are starting to make sense, you start to pick up on other things like the psychology, how to engage a crowd, how to structure a match, how to sell, how to react. And that really hooked me deep when I started to hear perspectives from very intelligent people who I've been lucky to work with in wrestling. It blew me away. It was like, I've never thought about pro wrestling like this. But for some people, I think it would be overwhelming to hear a lot of, hey, it's not just about what you do, it's about how you do it and why you do it. But for
Mhm.
me, it just made me want to know more. And that kind of led to a lot of trips overseas, particularly in the early days. I would essentially, straight out of high school, kind of just work full time, take as many jobs as I could, and just spend all that cash, travel overseas, and place myself somewhere around the world and just soak in as much knowledge as I possibly could in a short time. And it's just that process has never stopped. I still feel like I'm a student when it comes to this, and I always say the best way to be a student is to be a teacher. As soon as you start teaching and coaching, you have to break things down into really, really fine detail, and you've got to dumb it down and make it make sense to different people. And that's when you really start to get things, and you really start to analyze more. So yeah, it's never stopping for me. It's the more I do it, the more I just want to know more about it, and come up with my own thoughts and philosophies about it too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, as an active performer yourself, you're obviously still learning. Who are some of those people that you turn to for advice or to watch your stuff and critique your work?
Number one's Davis Storm, always has been. He is the most underrated, intelligent mind in professional wrestling. I'll argue that to the death. From a very early age, he kind of took me under his wing. In hindsight, he was only young and inexperienced as well, but to us, he was the leader. He was the guy kind of running the EPW ship. I was in Adelaide at the time, and we had a very close connection to EPW, which led to me moving there many, many years later. But he was always someone who took the time to give me advice, and he never sugarcoated it. He was always very harsh, very to the point, and he gave me things I'd never heard before. So he's one, just an incredible mind. TJ Perkins is another. I was working with TJ from about 2007, my first overseas trip to California. It was 3 months of me and him, generally one-on-one, just one-on-one training and being able to pick his brain. And again, TJ, the most underrated technician in the world, on any given day could be the best technical pro wrestler in the world, and an amazing mind who he doesn't do a lot of coaching and things like that. He does seminars here and there, but if he did, he would be one of the best coaches on earth. Just amazing stuff. So I would say those two, they'd be my biggest mentors when it comes to this kind of stuff, and both very much resonate with my thought process and the things I value in pro wrestling.
Is that something that's important too, to find people that have a similar mindset to you, or do you think it's better to go to someone that has a totally different approach?
I'd say both for sure. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into one mindset, one aspect. I say listen to everyone. I even listen to my dad. My dad, he's living in Adelaide, so we're pretty far apart. He doesn't watch my shows anymore. But when I was in Adelaide, he went to every single show for 15, 16 years, and not a pro wrestling fan, doesn't watch pro wrestling outside of watching me wrestle, but he would always put his foot in it. He'd always give me his opinions, and they were very different opinions. And I used to get very defensive. You don't understand what this is. You don't get it. But then again, when I started doing this thing, I started to realize, well, if he doesn't get it, that could be a lot of people in the crowd who don't get it the way we do. Maybe we have to change our message so that everyone understands it. So yeah, I say listen to everyone. And look, if you don't like the opinion, you don't have to take it on board, but don't close yourself off before you've even heard it, because sometimes things kind of slip through the cracks that you don't think about, and all it takes is one different mindset, and that changes everything.
Yep. And yeah, like getting those outside non-wrestling fan perspectives is vital as well.
Absolutely.
And now, obviously, I don't want you to give away all of the secrets of the program, but what are some of the common mistakes that you see students making?
Ooh, tough one. There's a lot. I could go on forever.
There's not one that's just like the constant one that all pops up.
It does. It honestly changes from almost like from era to era. There are common mistakes because people tend to be inspired by what the mainstream are doing, and perhaps don't understand the context as to why the mainstream are doing it and why that doesn't work at the independent level. At the moment, there is far too much, how can I say it, melodrama. There's far too much
wrestling?
far too much cinema wrestling, far too much amateur theater. When people don't understand that you're watching a TV product and they're working for cameras, they're not working for the live audience. And a lot of people rely way too heavily on cinema, call it that, when they should be relying on the fundamentals of pro wrestling and using body language and emotion and reaction to get their message across. A lot of people just rely on dialogue and telling people instead of showing. I always say show, don't tell. Don't spoon feed people what you want them to see. Kind of give them 2 + 2 and make them figure out the answer. And that's been the biggest thing I've noticed from the bare bones trainee level. People are coming in and they've already got that mindset of, as soon as I get in the ring, I'm just going to start yapping away and telling people what my character is and what I'm going to do. And to me, it's cringe. It's absolute cringe at this level. So there's a time and a place for it. And often people don't understand why that is.
So on that sort of transition, coming up in October, WWE is returning to Perth, the WWE, the home of the cinema wrestling, which also means there's a huge EPW event. This is our house on October 12th. How important are events like this for WA wrestling?
Obviously, a lot more eyes. We had Elimination Chamber last year in February, and we did the same kind of thing. We ran our show just before or after, I can't recall, but we ran the Willetton before. Yeah, we ran the Willetton Stadium the night before, I believe. And obviously it's an opportunity because a lot of people are in town from interstate, from overseas, whether that's fans, whether that's wrestlers. People are in town to have tryouts and to get look into. And some people just want to come and watch the show, like it's not too often that WWE comes to Australia anymore. So when they come, people want to see it, and that means more people to book. Obviously, at this level, we don't have a lot of money. The budgets aren't huge. No one does. It's a very DIY kind of work ethic. So when people are in town and you can use them, and it's not going to potentially cost as much, that's a fantastic opportunity to see all these different dynamics play out. You can see guys from MCW, you can see girls from PWA, you can see people from all over Australia who you've only heard about or seen online, or maybe like through the grapevine you've heard a name mentioned, and now you get to see them all in the same building, which is a pretty special thing. As I said, Aussie scene, incredible. We have the best pro wrestling scene in the world. Nobody can argue that with me. It's absolutely undisputed. We have the best wrestlers in the world. We have the best shows in the world. So it's not too often we actually get to put it all together. And obviously you've got the extra eyes. I know last time when we ran the night before Chamber, there were a lot of WWE talent in the crowd. There were several. We had coaches from NXT in the crowd. We had scouts in the crowd. So yeah, all round, every eye is kind of there in the building, and that's an incredibly special thing that we absolutely do not take for granted. This could be the last time. Every time could be the last time. So everyone's going to put their best foot forward, and it's going to be a special night for Aussie wrestling, I think.
And especially for the EPW roster, like the audience don't always get to see these EPW talents because it is such a trek for EPW shows. So I guess like to have those people come and see your crop of students and talent coming through is a great opportunity for them as well, to then potentially they get booked over on the East Coast.
For sure. Perth is I believe the second most isolated city on the planet, and I think we've got a pretty cool scene going on for that limitation, I guess. And we have a lot of very talented people who definitely haven't had the opportunities. And it goes both ways. It's on them to put themselves out there as well, but it's not easy. It's expensive. People have lives, people have careers and things like that. So when you can come to our hometown and see what we do, and now there aren't any of those limitations, that's a really good opportunity for our Perth crew. And I do hope that they make the most of it and stand up and show out. I know they will. Having been on all the EPW shows since I moved here in 2016, I know that we've got something special going on. So I'm keen to see how they match up with the interstate talent, because I keep a very close eye on a lot of other promotions, and I work closely with a lot of wrestlers from the East Coast. And there's a lot of dream matches and pairings that I would love to see, and you're going to see them on this night. I can't expose anything at the moment, but I would argue probably one of, if not the best pro wrestling cards that I've ever seen in my 22 years in this country.
And EPW in the last sort of couple of years have done a great job of bringing through and elevating that next wave of sort of young main event talent. As a coach, is that just as creatively gratifying for you to see those guys and girls sort of step up to that next level?
Yeah, if not more, particularly this stage in the game. Like, I wouldn't say that my foot's out the door or anything, but my ambitions to sacrifice everything and move overseas, and that's well in the past. So now I get as much fulfillment out of coaching and seeing that next crew step up. For me, it's always just been a case of when I see someone who has the dedication and the work ethic, I am very much drawn to wanting to help them as much as I can. And that's how all of this started. It didn't start as me wanting to put content online or have a membership service or anything like that. It started well before that, when I was coaching for Wrestle Rampage early in my career, when I probably had no business being a coach. But I started coaching maybe 5-6 years into the game, just because there weren't that many people out there who were traveling and getting training elsewhere. So I was trusted by Hartley Jackson to assist him in a way. And I loved every part of it. I loved giving back. I loved showing people new things and getting those light bulb moments. I mean, honestly, it's led to me becoming a teacher. I've been a teacher in my day job for the last 11 years. And that all came from pro wrestling coaching. I realized that there was something more than just getting in the ring and performing. And a rising tide lifts all boats, and I think that's a really special thing. If you ever have the opportunity to give back to the industry, absolutely do it. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
And I think that's probably one of the strongest points with Australian wrestling. People that do travel, they always come back and they share that knowledge with others. It's not, oh, I've got that, so if you want that, you have to go over there as well. Everybody wants to help everyone. That rising tide
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah. Look, as much as I say being in Australia is a bit of a limitation because of the distance, at the same time, it also means that we have some incredibly talented people who are world class, who should have been on TV last week, who, for whatever reason, can't or haven't been picked up or can't afford the investment of placing themselves elsewhere. And they're here in Australia. They're doing the thing. They're coaching. They're teaching. So look, there's pros and cons to the fact that we do live in a very isolated continent in the world, but those pros really really do add up, and it's built what we have today. And not just here, not just in Perth, but all over Australia. There are incredible training schools everywhere, amazing coaches. We've got the winter camp going on at the moment in Perth today. Today and tomorrow is the last day, but we've run, I think, 8 of these now, and every year I see the standard lift, and not just because we're getting people with bigger names or more experience. We're still getting those wrestlers who have only been wrestling for a year, but the wrestlers who are 12 months in now and the wrestlers who are 12 months in from 10 years ago are night and day. So it's not just us. Everyone around Australia is really lifting and rising with that standard. And yeah, we got a cool spot right now.
Awesome. And that sort of flows on to, like you said, last time WWE was here, they had the Elimination Chamber, which saw a big WWE tryout with Zarya, at the time Delta, earning a contract from that. Given your coaching credentials, who are some of the people that you think should be on a potential tryout if there is one this year, and who could be the next Australian WWE superstar?
I'd put Robbie Thorpe right up there at the top.
Yep.
That's a no-brainer. There are a lot. There's so many.
Yeah, you look at some of those like EPW, MCW, PWA shows, and you're like, it could just be put on TV right now.
I'm literally just running through the promotions in my head. Like, where do we start? There are so many. There's so many talented female wrestlers at the moment who are killing it. Even just from watching some of the crew at the camp this week, and I've seen most of them outside of the camp as well. But Rita Stone is incredible and has the brightest future ahead of her. Shay Cassidy's the same. Obviously the male talent as well we've got is amazing. Like if you watch any MCW show at the moment, there are so many TV ready wrestlers, and that's both from the aesthetics. Everyone's kind of getting on the body biz at the moment.
Yep.
Everyone's kind of taking it seriously and getting into good shape, and Progress 365 over in Perth as well. But just the in-ring, everyone, the level of confidence and the projection, everyone looks like they're ready for the mainstream, which is an incredible thing to see. The production is amazing as well, which obviously helps things too. And yeah, you could say the same for a lot of promotions. Wrestle Rampage in Adelaide, Riot City, EPW over here, PWA. Even, I've watched recent IWA shows that are looking incredible. Newey Pro, Queenslander are killing it. For every, I wouldn't even say it's a negative opinion, but, Queensland often gets forgotten in the grand scheme of things. But I've watched shows from Pro Wrestling League recently. Incredible, amazing talent everywhere. So, man, the list goes on and on. I'll have to send you a big essay with my list of who should be signed. But, as we know, not always the case. They usually have certain things they're looking for at any given time. But Robbie Thorpe is the name that always comes to me. I think the guy should be signed tomorrow.
Yep. And you mentioned sort of the production too. I think that's another big underrated part of Australian wrestling. Like the people that are behind the cameras, behind the scenes, are working just as hard and are just as skilled as the guys and girls in the ring to make these shows look like, yeah, if Channel 10 or Channel 7 were like, hey, we want to put a wrestling show on TV, can we do it? And I'm sure a lot of the companies would be like, yeah, we're good to go. We can have the show ready to go next week.
Definitely, absolutely, and you got to understand as well. A lot of companies now are maybe starting to pay production companies to edit their shows and film their shows and light it up and stuff like that. But still, for the most part, it's still quite grassroots. It's still just the crew doing all the work. EPW, we've had the same guys running things for years and years and years, and they are not professional lighting sound tech guys. They are just people who kind of did a little bit here and there, learnt on the way, and have kept doing it. And then you've seen a lot of people who maybe started as wrestlers. Let's look at Jax, for example, in PWA.
Hmm.
Kind of picked up things as they went, learnt the trade, and became absolutely incredible at it, and ended up taking jobs outside of the ring in that industry. So the production is amazing, but it's not like we're all just throwing a bunch of money at these top tier companies. We're kind of doing it from the ground up. We're learning as we go, and it has gotten to a very, very high standard. And when we see what they're doing over on the East Coast, we know that we can't fall below that standard. So that makes us work
Yep.
harder as well.
Brilliant. Alrighty. So looking ahead, where is the best place for people to get tickets for EPW This Is Our House on October 12th?
So tickets are through MoshTix. You can go to epwperth.com, head to our socials as well if you want to be updated on matches, what kind of names are coming. There's all sorts of information coming out in the next few months. We still have Hell or High Water coming ahead, so one more big show on the road. But I would say after that, it's going to be full steam ahead to October 12th. And if you're in town, if you're in Perth, I don't care how much pro wrestling, how much sports entertainment you watch that week, because there's going to be a lot. That is the show that you need to be at. I'm telling you now, if you miss it, you're going to kick yourself, or I'll kick you.
I said the same thing about Elimination Chamber last year. I was like, if I was going to go to Perth, EPW would be my first ticket. I'm making sure I have an EPW ticket, and then everything else can flow from there.
100%. Yeah, even if you miss out on tickets, I know the WWE have already sold a lot of tickets for RAC Arena, a lot of triple head passes, and I don't believe there's that many left. If you're in town and you miss out on the big dogs, there are going to be a lot of pro wrestling events during that week with some insane talent. So your time will be well spent either way.
Finally, where is the best place for people to support and track your creative journey moving forward?
Sure. Look, my socials are always pumping full of new stuff. So my Instagram is @dslats. Unfortunately, someone took the Damian Slater handle. I would go there. I put a lot of things on Instagram, on Facebook as well. Same deal. TikTok, YouTube still kind of goes occasionally. But if you're really keen on the game and you're really looking to, I guess, learn from afar, my worldbeaterwrestling.com Patreon is a pretty cool thing. It's a platform for people who are looking to upskill in the game away from their current training school or their current environment. I've got over 400 members at the moment, and a really good group from around the world. We're a bit of a community, and there's just constant learning going on, regardless of what aspect of pro wrestling you're looking to improve with.
Awesome. Alrighty. Thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck with Hell or High Water. And then obviously, This Is Our House on October 12th.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it.